done in 28
We
years.
just have to have a great deal of balance. We know we're going to see a desperate team.
Jackson goes on and throws it down. A near perfect start for the Clippers.
Poised right now. You just got to stay the course.
Three-pointer. Bang! George on the pull-up, nails a three.
Oh, George rolling.
Throws it down with authority.
That's just who we are. Fight. We scrappy. The most important thing, we do it together.
Give me a good Mike Breen bang anytime. All right, after the Clippers' big win, Game 5 extending the series, we will have Game 6 for you tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, ESPN, and the app. SportsCenter starts with Stephen A., our coverage at 7 Eastern, followed by the Countdown crew, who will take you right up until game time. The Jump, still in Phoenix, where the Clippers forced a Game 6 last night, led by a playoff career-high 41 points from Paul George. Welcome back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I am still here with Kendrick Perkins, Richard Jefferson. They're both wearing jackets and pants. It's a red letter day. After Game 5, Suns coach Monty Williams said his team played with a, quote, show-up mentality in the first quarter, while the Clippers played with, quote, desperation. So, Perk, who needs to step up for the Suns in Game 6 tomorrow night?
Well, it's two people. One, I talked about this yesterday on the show with you guys about CP3 and his legacy. Well, his legacy is still on the line about blowing 3-1 leads. And here it is. He's the head of the snake, and he has the opportunity to capitalize on the moment, and he needs to. The second person, where's Jay Crowder at right now? Right? Jay Crowder has been phenomenal throughout the postseason. He was really good against the Denver Nuggets. He's not doing anything. I believe he's like averaging 4 points in this series. I believe he's shooting like 4 for 26 from the three or something to that nature. He's not defending because Paul George is having it his way. Reggie Jackson is having it his way. So I'm looking at these two veteran guys of this young team, and they have to elevate their game and set the tone.
I actually agree. Like, I think Jay Crowder's got to do more. Jay Crowder knows he has to do more. This is not something that isn't getting voiced to him. But the two people I think need to step up are Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You talked about when Devin Booker's in 11 elimination games, he's averaging a 40 piece. Like, that's ridiculous. And I'm not saying that that's what he gets, but everybody knows this in this league. First round, like, elimination games are easy. Second round games are a little bit harder. And then the finals, putting a team out the further you go.
But this isn't an elimination game for the Suns, and isn't that part of it? I mean, it sounds shocking to me that the Clippers came out with more desperation than the team that was up 3-1.
Yeah, well, I'm more talking about eliminating a team.
No,
like,
I know,
but I just think that it gets harder, and I think, like, as much as Devin Booker and some of these young players have raised their level, guys, there's more levels to go. To win an NBA championship, you're going to go against the Bucks or you're going to go against the Atlanta Hawks. So it's like what you did last round, it's got to go harder. You got to go harder. You got to keep pushing yourself. So those are the two guys. If Chris Paul and Devin Booker show up, there hasn't been a time where those two showed up and played at a high level where everyone else didn't fall in line.
I would just say this. Look, we talk about the comebacks from 3-1. You obviously, Richard, were part of the team with the most famous one of all. We talked about, Perk, you mentioned that Chris Paul has been on the wrong end of 3-1 comebacks. We talk about them because they're notable. It's not what usually happens. Yeah. What often happens is either it becomes, quote, a gentleman's sweep, right, a 4-1 kind of thing, or it becomes where, hey, the team that's up 3-1 gets a little bit like either tight or just doesn't play as desperate as the team that shockingly is going to be eliminated and therefore is very desperate. And so the team that's down wins. And then more often than the other way, the team that's leading ends up winning the series. Those are just the numbers. So just because the Suns came out less desperate in this game last night, I don't feel like that's an indication of how the rest of the series is going to go. It's kind of how it usually goes. Not all the time, but more often than not, this is what we see. And now we'll see what the Clippers can do at home on their home court. I do want to just address the Kawhi Leonard sort of wrinkle of all this. He has, of course, missed the last 7 games due to what the Clippers say is a right knee sprain. This matters whether the Clippers win or lose, especially because Kawhi has the ability to opt out and become a free agent once again this summer. Now, I want to stress, this does not mean that, oh, wow, he's going to opt out and leave the Clippers. Nobody is saying that. But what is up for discussion is, could he sign a longer-term deal if he opts out? Side note, happy 30th birthday to Kawhi, so that's important to note, too. You've got a guy who is getting into that decade of his life. Of course, he could decide to go somewhere else, but there's just no indication of that publicly at all. So the question is, if he decides to stay with the Clippers, how should he do this? What should he do? And do you think, Richard, the knee issues he's having now, and this is why it's kind of coming up right now, will impact his decision?
I can't speak for Kawhi, but we can speak for players that we have seen over the course of our career. When you've seen, like, again, even in his championship run, and you look at how they have rested him over the course, the expectations of Kawhi are when he's on your roster, you have a chance to win a championship. So you're always going to be looking to be playing more games and more minutes than like a normal player. That being said, I look for security. But everybody looks for different things. So if he wants that security, it's like, dude, if you have a knee injury that's keeping you out from the postseason and you're a free agent and you can sign a 4-year deal and give yourself $176 million of security, that's where I'm going to lean. But everybody looks at it differently.
No, I'm right there with you. My grandfather always told me, never pass up something for show, trying to get some more. And here it is right in front of his face, right? The Clippers want to give him everything in the world. They has given him everything in the world. As far as private helicopters from his house to the arena to...
They got Paul George.
Yeah, letting him do whatever he want to do, right? Building an arena in Inglewood. So if I'm Kawhi...
I don't think that's because of Kawhi, but continue.
It's part of... It has a little bit to do with Kawhi, right? If Kawhi don't go there, then Steve Ballmer probably is not enthusiastic about building the arena. But that's neither here or there. If I'm Kawhi, I sign that extension or deal, whatever it is, and I stay with the Clippers.
Well, because this is the thing about the 1-year deal. If you were to sign a 1-year deal to get that 5th-year bird rights,
right,
you don't know what's going to happen in that 1 year. And if you're coming off something and there's a possibility of surgery and there's a possibility of, if they telling you here this and you're like, well, I want to wait 1 more year and see if my knee holds up. And this is after being rested for multiple seasons. This is after the issues in San Antonio. And really, we saw him labor. That was part of the impressive thing in the Toronto Raptors. We saw him laboring. I have no idea why he's clapping.
You saw
him laboring in Toronto when he won the championship. What are you clapping for?
No, because I'm so proud of you, man. You actually digging in your bag every single day. Now you're talking about bird rights and
I know,
you
right?
sound
That's
like
a good point.
Look, that Schwartz gave me that first.
You sound like a front office.
Shout out to our researcher, Michael Schwartz.
Yeah, Schwartz gave me that
for
information.
making RJ look good. I was trying to get
each other look. Don't give me no cry. I don't want nothing from you.
I would also just say that Steve Ballmer has been talking about building a new arena kind of since he started owning the team. They don't get all the concession money and all the stuff, and I think the fans would like an arena of their own. But certainly the excitement of Kawhi and PG and this run will help sort of build toward when they do finally get to open that arena. So that's good for them too. We'll see what everybody does. There's time still to think about this because the Clippers are still alive in the NBA playoffs. Coming up, new Celtics could
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't talk like that. I use sarcasm.
Let's switch gears. I want to talk about tonight's game in Atlanta. Trae Young, guys, questionable with that bone bruise in his foot. Richard, how do you expect Trae's injury to impact the game?
You're going to see in the first few minutes, but this is the thing that you worry about with the Milwaukee Bucks. It's like, put your foot right there on their neck and that's it. Just give them nothing. Give them absolutely nothing because you know the longer that they get, the more he warms up the ankle, the more he starts to get into the rhythm, the more they'll start to believe. But this is an opportunity for the Bucks to just put them down. He's not 100%, but we'll see in the first 5 minutes. It's hard for us to speculate until you actually start to see him.
No, he's actually hurt. And my advice to Trae Young, just like I gave advice to Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis, you have nothing else to prove, in my opinion. And I think he shouldn't play tonight, to be honest with you, because he's hurt. You know, the Hawks have exceeded expectations, and Trae Young going out there at 50% is not going to help the situation against this Milwaukee Bucks team. So, Trae Young, if you're out there listening, Mr. Young, his dad, hey, sit out for the night. No one is going to look down.
That would be the first time anyone listened to Perk. What I will say, though, is this.
It's feel sorry for their loss.
The point is, we don't know until we give it a try. We don't know if he's 50%, if he's 70%. We know. All of us can see that ankle and be like, that's going to be sore for a couple of days. I'm not going to sit up here as a Twitter doctor like Perk and say sit out, but you'll know in the first 5-10 minutes.
I don't, as I said, I have not seen the medical report on Trae Young's ankle, but I know Trae Young well enough to know he is going to at least try to give it a go tonight. I don't know if that will even extend to tip-off. He'll just try up in warm-ups, but I can't imagine him just turning around and saying, nah, never mind. So we'll find out if that happens.